We have been talking about pass rushers coming to play for the Detroit Lions, some more outlandish than others. But there's a name that we've been talking about for a while, kind of not really getting the love that this guy should get. And you already see it from the thumbnail and from the title here, Harold Landry. Harold Landry is a curious case, and we're going to dissect his contract, his stats, and his familiarity with the coaching staff, some of the coaching staff, or I should say our defensive line coach when it comes to the Detroit Lions. Now, this is a name you guys have wanted me to bring up for quite some time, and it just got interesting. I think Harold Landry makes things interesting. Now, let's look at the Tennessee Titans are probably going to wind up being sellers at the trade deadline. I don't know if you guys knew this, but the Tennessee Titans have the #1 defense in the NFL. So parting with one of their defensive core members is going to be tough, but with them being where they are and their situation at quarterback, they need to build for the future, so they might have to start selling off some assets. Harold Landry, let's take a look at his stats. 6'2", 252. Now, they've got him as a linebacker, so he kind of plays that role, but he will put his hand in the dirt as well. 6'2", 252. 28 years old, so he just turned 28. And y'all be killing me with the whole 30 is old. Boston College, second-round pick in 2018, which is crazy because I believe Kerryon Johnson, when he was drafted, was pick number 41. It really kind of stands out to me. So far, he has 14 solo tackles, 4 sacks, which I believe puts him in the top 10 in the NFL. If we look at his stats, spent his entire career with Tennessee, has played most of his career. He missed 1 game his rookie season, played the next 2 seasons in full, played the next 2 seasons in full. This dude is healthy. In addition to that, look at what he does. 4 sacks, 9 sacks, 5.5, 12, 10.5 coming off of last season, and 4 so far. So if I had to do, I would have to say that Landry is on pace to at least equal 10.5 sacks. He could possibly have more. Harold Landry is a interesting case because, as stated earlier, he actually, the year he was drafted is when Tyrell Williams, our defensive line coach, became the Tennessee Titans defensive line coach. And until last year, he was with the Tennessee Titans with Landry. So there's that connection. And I think the person that is brought in here, if it is a long-term solution, or meaning a running mate to Hutch for long-term, then I think that connection to the Detroit Lions in the past, meaning somebody on their staff, is going to go a long way to make that happen. Now, here's where it gets good. It gets good when it comes to his contract duration and his contract salary. All right? In when did he do this? He signed in March 2022. Landry signed a 5-year, $87 million deal. But what about this year? This year, in 2024, he will earn a base salary of 17.2 while carrying a cap hit of 23.8 and a dead cap value of 36. Now, that's a bit high as far as cap hit is concerned, but you got to look at the Tennessee Titans. They're in a sticky situation right now. They are not going anywhere anytime soon. I've heard Jeffrey Simmons could possibly be on a trade block. They just signed him to a massive deal not too long ago. DeAndre Hopkins, they're shipping him. Calvin Ridley, maybe not so much. I wouldn't be surprised soon if Will Levis becomes available. The Tennessee Titans got a lot of work to do. So I could see this very much happening. Now, let's go back and look at the good. I think this is all around good. Harold Landry is a guy that this ad is super irritating. Can I close it here? There we go. They tried to hide the button on me. Shout out to Green Gridiron. Check the link in the description. Looking at, I don't think anything about this is bad. All right. We are this year. Now, the Titans have a potential out after this year, but here's why I think Landry is kind of shaping up to be maybe one of the best deals out there because we don't know if Trayvon Walker is really available. When you look at contract length and value, Harold Landry, this is right around the perfect fit for the Detroit Lions. He would be owed about $1 million per game for the rest of the season. The Titans probably won't trade him. If they do, into the trade deadline. At that point, the Lions you probably will only owe him about $10 million for the rest of the season. So not only do you get a decent loaner for the rest of the year, but then next year he's under contract, and the year after that he's under contract, and you're talking about $17 million apiece. Now, for reference, Trey Hendrickson is getting about 14.5. Hassan Reddick went into the season at 14.5. He will be getting about 10 now. So right now, you could get Hassan Reddick and Harold Landry for the same amount for the rest of the season. The difference is Hassan Reddick is a loaner. Is that what the Detroit Lions are looking for? Or are they looking for a more long-term solution? Again, Harold Landry could be that guy. The connection with Tyrell Williams, the fact that he's decently priced, and the fact that he is under contract for the next 2 seasons. So not only do you have him to help you make that Super Bowl run, you also have him when Aiden Hutchinson comes back, and you have him the year after that. Now, all of the people that we've looked at, I've been watching some Browns creators, and they're saying that they don't think that Myles Garrett, that their team is, quote, not having a fire sale, but more like a garage sale. Assuming that they are not going to sell Myles Garrett, there's not many pass rushers that you're going to get of his quality with a 2-year deal. For example, Trey Hendrickson only has 1 more deal remaining on his contract. And I'm starting to get a little leery about what the Bengals are going to do because they are very much alive in this thing. And Trey is under contract for next season as well. He wanted to be traded. He's probably going to make some ruckus. I use that term lightly in the offseason because he wanted to be traded last offseason. But the Tennessee Titans have all the power. The Cincinnati Bengals have all the power here when it comes to Trey. But Harold Landry, you get a quality pass rusher, decently priced for the next 2.5 years. This is a name that I've been hearing about, that I was looking into and wanted to dissect. What are the odds, though, that the Tennessee Titans are going to be willing to part with Harold Landry? Okay, specifically. I think they're high, but watch this. These are the next 3 opponents before the trade deadline for the Tennessee Titans. They play the Buffalo Bills on Sunday. That is going to be an L. Amari Cooper will be playing in that game. Josh will finally have his number 1 receiver. That is an L. So they are going to move to 1-5 because they are currently 1-4. They're going to move to 1-5. They played the Detroit Lions right before or a week before the trade deadline. So we're going to be able to get a good look at him then. And then they played the New England Patriots, a game that really could go either way. They're going to lose to us. They're going to lose to Buffalo. That is now 1-6 heading into the game against the New England Patriots. Assuming it doesn't matter at that point where that game. 1-6, they're done. The whole AFC South is pretty much done. It's whatever in that division. So now you have a toss-up. Let's give them this game. They win this game. They're now 2-6, possibly 1-7. Trade deadline is approaching. Harold could play. He could be off. If he sits, usually as the trade deadline is approaching, if you sit, you're probably going to get shipped out. But we've also seen people play the game before the trade deadline and also get shipped out as well. It's that risk of injury that the team is trying to avoid. So Harold Landry has now become the number 1 candidate that I could see if the Detroit Lions are looking for a long-term solution to their pass rush problem. Hassan Reddick, in my opinion, could be a loaner for the rest of the year because he is not under contract for the rest of the year. So either he needs to be extended or he's going to play out this year. So it really depends on what the Lions are trying to do for not only this season, but for the future as well. Harold Landry should probably get a little more recognition than he's been getting. A guy that, again, we've been talking about Trey Hendrickson, we've been talking about Myles Garrett and everyone else. But this guy is like quiet. He's quiet and he's top 10. So I could see this happening. I really could. Again, that connection is there. And even though you've got the connection between Trey Hendrickson and the Detroit Lions, Aaron Glenn and Dan Campbell, you've got that D-line connection. And they wanted somebody. Here's when it gets good. Yesterday, Dan Campbell said they wanted a plug-and-play guy. They wanted that dude that could come in. If he could come in, great. If he needed a little bit of time, that's okay. Landry needs no time. He's only a year removed from his time with Tyrell Williams. So now, I am going to put Harold Landry at the top of the list. And you know what? I wouldn't be mad. It now becomes a factor. Does Brad Holmes, is he willing to pay $17.5 million for the next 2 seasons? It's also possible once Harold gets here, they could possibly restructure in some type of way because he will be playing those 2 years, he'll be playing for a contender. We are a contender. The Tennessee Titans ain't going nowhere anytime soon. It's amazing what winning does. When we talk about winning covers everything, winning does a lot because people are willing to sometimes take less for a chance to win. So I'm going to put Harold Landry now based on the numbers and the history and the potential and the history of what the Detroit Lions do. I'm going to put him at number 1. Kind of makes the most sense. Familiarity with the D-line coach, the ability to come straight in and play, decently priced, great production, contract for the next 2.5 years. You're not going to, everybody that we've gone over does not have, the only people that we've been talking about, there's 3 people that we've been talking about with 2.5-year contracts left. Myles Garrett, Max Crosby, Trayvon Walker. And the 2 of them guys are probably off the table. Trayvon could be a possibility, not sure. Harold is probably the most realistic option. And I'm surprised I just now looked at him. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. This thing is getting good. It is possible. What if Brad Holmes does this? I'm going to throw this out there. Leave it in the comments below. We got a bunch of cap space, right? What if Brad Holmes, in an attempt to go all the way, he says, you know what? Give me Hassan on the loaner for $10 million. Give me Landry for the future for $10 million this year. We got you next 2 years. Hutch is back. Landry and Hutch next year, whoever we draft. Hey, I'm not saying it ain't possible. The thing is now, what do the Tennessee Titans want for a guy like Harold Landry? 2nd round pick. They're going to get at least a 2nd round pick and probably more. I say Harold Landry, put it in the comments. What would you give? We going to throw James Houston in there because they're going to need a pass rusher. James want to play linebacker? Let him. We give you James Houston. We're going to have to give him 2 picks. That's the key. We don't have a 3rd round pick for next year. So Harold Landry, in my opinion, is going to get at least James Houston. They're probably going to at least want a 2nd for him. At least. I think if you don't give a 1st, Harold Landry, they might want a 1st. They might want he playing 1st round right now. They might run, and we're going to be late. We're going to be a late 1st round pick. So I'll say, I give you a 1st round pick for Landry. I give you a 1st round pick in James Houston. And you give us a late round pick. We'll give you Harold. We'll give you a 1st and James Houston. You give us a 6. You give us Landry and a 6. Because that's how it's going to go down. We'll give you a 1st in Houston. You give us, we get Landry in the 6th. It's essentially the same thing because James was drafted in the 6th round. Let me know your thoughts, man. Harold Landry is now at the top of my list as probability to wind up a Detroit Lion. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. This is getting real interesting. You guys are awesome. Take care of yourself and each other. This channel is brought to you by viewers, subscribers, and members just like you. And as always, go Lions. This stuff is getting real good.